On the battlefield, the screams of barbarians could be heard. Rage, fear, chaos. But those standing across from them, they were silent. None of them spoke. None of them moved. The only sound heard was thousands of iron-nailed sandals hitting the ground at the same time. Tock, tock, tock. The earth trembled. They were not born soldiers. They were ordinary men torn from fields, villages, poor neighborhoods. But Rome took them, broke them, and rebuilt them with pain. They had no names, only numbers and legions. They were not called heroes, they were called Marius Mules, because on their backs they carried not just Rome's weapons, but the fate of the world. A 25-year contract, superhuman discipline, and a system where those who made mistakes paid with their lives. Have you ever wondered how a farmer was transformed into history's most perfect killing machine? Today, we will see the men behind those shields, step by step, how a legionary was created. If you are ready, we are entering that bloody training ground, the Campus Martius.
But before we step onto that field where men are broken and remade, we need to understand what Rome created. Because what you think you know about Roman soldiers is probably wrong, completely wrong. 107 BC, northern Italy. A young farmer named Marcus stands in a long line outside a Roman recruitment tent. He is 18 years old, thin, hungry. His family's farm has failed. He has two choices: starve or sign his life away to Rome for 25 years. The recruiting centurion looks him up and down with disgust. You? You think you can be a soldier? Marcus says nothing. He cannot afford pride. He needs the salary. 3 denarii per day. It is more money than he has ever seen. The centurion walks around him like examining livestock. Can you march 30 kilometers in full armor? No, sir. Can you dig a 6-foot trench in clay soil? No, sir. Can you kill a man with your bare hands? Marcus hesitates. No, sir. The centurion smiles. A cold smile. Good, because if you said yes, you would be lying. And we do not want liars. We want raw material, clay that we can shape. You, farm boy, are clay. He thrusts a wooden tablet forward, a contract. Sign this. For 25 years you belong to Rome. Your body belongs to Rome. Your life belongs to Rome. If you survive those 25 years, Rome will give you land, money, and citizenship. But understand this, most do not survive. Disease, battle, or the training itself will kill you. Do you accept? Marcus looks at the tablet. He cannot read the words, but he knows what it means. Death or glory, starvation or servitude. He takes the stylus, makes his mark. The centurion nods. Welcome to the legions. You are no longer Marcus the farmer. You are legionary number 4287 of the 10th Legion. Your old life is dead. Now, we make you into something useful. This was how it began. Not with glory, not with honor, but with hunger, desperation, and a simple choice: sign or starve. But what Marcus did not know, what none of the recruits knew, was that Rome had spent centuries perfecting a system that could take a weak farmer and transform him into a component of the world's most efficient killing machine. Not through inspiration, not through speeches, but through calculated, brutal, scientific training. The Roman military was not like the armies that came before it. Greek hoplites were citizens who fought when needed and returned to their farms. Persian armies were conscripts forced into service. Barbarian warriors were individuals seeking personal glory. But Rome created something entirely new. The world's first professional army. The reforms of Gaius Marius in 107 BC changed everything. Before Marius, only wealthy landowners could serve. They brought their own equipment, fought for a season, then went home. But Marius opened the legions to landless poor. Rome would provide everything: weapons, armor, training, salary. In exchange, These men would serve for 25 years, a quarter of a century, most of their adult lives. They would have no other job, no other identity. They would be soldiers, professional soldiers, soldiers who ate, slept, breathed war. And they would carry everything they needed on their backs. 30 kilograms of equipment, weapons, armor, tools, food, tent poles, cooking pots, everything. They were not just fighters. They were mobile fortresses, self-sufficient war machines. This is why they were called Marius's Mules, not as an insult, but as a simple fact. They carried burdens like mules, marched like mules, worked like mules, and like mules, they were the backbone of the entire empire. But carrying 30 kilograms was just the beginning, because what Rome was about to do to these recruits was something far more profound than physical training. Rome was going to break their minds, rebuild their identities, and forge them into something that had never existed before. Marcus and the other recruits are loaded onto carts. They travel for 3 days to the training camp near Rome, the Campus Martius, the field of Mars, god of war. When they arrive, they see it. Thousands of men, all in identical red tunics, all moving in perfect synchronization, marching, drilling, fighting. The sound is overwhelming, metal on metal, commands being shouted, the rhythm of organized violence. A veteran centurion stands before the new recruits. His face is scarred, his right eye is milky white, blind from an old wound. In his hand, he holds a wooden staff, a vitis, a vine staff, the symbol of his rank, but also his weapon. "Listen carefully," the centurion says, his voice like gravel. "I will say this once. You are nothing. You are weak. You are soft. You are worthless. But if you survive the next 6 months, you will be transformed. You will become part of the greatest military force this world has ever seen." He begins to pace. "But most of you will not survive. Some of you will die from the training. Some will desert and be executed. Some will simply break. And that is acceptable, because Rome does not need thousands of mediocre soldiers. Rome needs hundreds of perfect ones." He stops in front of Marcus, looks him in the eyes. "What is your name?" "Marcus, sir." The centurion strikes him across the face with the vine staff. Marcus falls to the ground, blood streaming from his lip. "Wrong. You have no name. You are Legionary 4287. When I call your number, you respond. When I give an order, you obey. You do not think. You do not question. You do not exist as an individual. You exist only as part of the Legion. Do you understand?" Marcus, still on the ground, blood in his mouth, whispers, "Yes, sir." "I cannot hear you!" "Yes, sir," Marcus shouts. "Good. Now get up. Your training begins now." And it did. That very moment, no rest, no orientation, just immediate, brutal immersion into the Roman military machine. Because Rome had learned something crucial. If you want to break a man's old identity, you must do it immediately. Before he has time to think, before he has time to doubt, you throw him into chaos and watch him drown. And then, when he is gasping for air, you pull him out and teach him how to swim, the Roman way. The first week was designed to destroy, not physically, but psychologically. The recruits were given impossible tasks. Dig a trench 6 feet deep, you have 1 hour. Carry this 40-kilogram pack and run 10 kilometers, you have 45 minutes. Stand in formation without moving for 4 hours. If you move, everyone runs again. It was impossible. Everyone failed. And that was the point, because Rome was teaching them the first lesson. You are not strong enough. You are not fast enough. You are not good enough. Not yet. And every failure was punished, not with execution, not with exile, but with the vine staff, the centurion's weapon of choice, a strike across the back, across the shoulders, across the legs. Not enough to cripple, but enough to hurt, enough to remember. The message was clear. Fail and you will suffer. Succeed and you will survive. There is no middle ground. Marcus learned quickly. Pain was the greatest teacher, and Rome had centuries of experience in teaching through pain.
6 weeks into training, Marcus no longer looks like the thin farmer who arrived at Campus Martius. His body has begun to change. Muscles form where there were none. Calluses cover his hands. His face is harder. But more importantly, something inside him has changed. He no longer thinks of home. He no longer dreams of his family's farm. When he closes his eyes at night, all he sees are formations, drills, and the face of the centurion shouting orders. This is what Rome wanted: complete transformation, not just of body, but of mind. Today, the recruits are led to a different part of the training ground, a covered shed. Inside, racks of equipment line the walls. But these are not real weapons. These are training weapons, and they are deliberately, purposefully wrong. The centurion picks up a wooden sword, gladius-shaped, but made of heavy oak. He tosses it to Marcus. Marcus catches it and nearly drops it. The weight is shocking. "Heavy, is it not?" the centurion asked with a thin smile. "Yes, sir. This wooden practice sword weighs twice as much as a real gladius. Know why?" Marcus shakes his head. "Because when you train with heavy, when your arms burn, when your shoulders scream, when you can barely lift it anymore, then, in battle, when you hold a real sword, it will feel like a feather. You will move faster, strike harder, and while your enemy tires, you will still be fresh." He tosses Marcus a practice shield next, also wicker, also impossibly heavy. Same principle: train heavy, fight light. This was Roman genius. Not just physical conditioning, but psychological preparation. If you could survive training with handicaps, battle would seem easy by comparison. The centurion leads them to a training post, Paulus, a thick wooden pole buried deep in the ground, standing 6 feet tall, roughly the height of a man. "This," the centurion says, striking the post with his vine staff, "is your enemy. For the next 3 months, you will fight this post every single day, 4 hours, no breaks." He demonstrates, steps forward with the heavy practice shield, bashes the post with the shield's edge, then thrusts with the wooden sword. Not a slashing motion, a stabbing motion. Short, fast, brutal. The gladius is not for cutting. Barbarians swing big swords like fools. They tire, they expose themselves. But you stay behind your shield. You wait, and when you see an opening, you stab. 5 centimeters of iron in the liver and a man dies. No glory, no drama, just efficiency. Marcus and the others began drilling. Bash with shield, stab with sword, bash, stab, bash, stab, over and over, hour after hour. Within 30 minutes, Marcus's arms are on fire. The wooden sword feels like it weighs 50 kilograms. His shoulder burns. Sweat pours down his face. But he does not stop, because stopping means the vine staff, and the vine staff hurts more than burning muscles.
After 2 hours, several recruits collapse. The centurion walks over to one who has fallen. Get up. The recruit cannot. His body will not respond. The centurion strikes him once with the staff. Get up. Still nothing. The centurion signals to 2 other legionaries. Take him to the medical tent. If he recovers, he starts training again from day 1. If he does not, he is discharged with nothing. This was Rome's mercy. Brutal, but fair. You either met the standard or you left. There were no exceptions, no accommodations. The legion did not bend for individuals. Individuals bent for the legion. By the end of the day, Marcus can barely move his arms. His entire body is one massive cramp. He collapses onto his bedroll in the barracks. But tomorrow it will happen again, and the day after that, and the day after that, for 3 months, until the movements become automatic, until his body no longer thinks, it just reacts, until the heavy wooden sword feels normal, and a real gladius will feel like air. This was the secret. Not inspiration, not speeches about glory, just repetition. Endless, painful, mind-numbing repetition until the body learned, until muscle memory replaced thought, because in battle there would be no time to think, only time to react. And Rome was building men who reacted perfectly every time, without hesitation. But the sword and shield were only part of the arsenal. There was one more weapon, one more piece of Roman engineering genius, and it would be introduced soon, very soon.
3 months into training, Marcus can now swing the heavy wooden sword for 4 hours without collapsing. His body has adapted. But today, something different happens. The centurion gathers the recruits in the armory. Real weapons this time, not training equipment, the actual tools of war. He picks up a spear, but not an ordinary spear. This is the pilum. 7 feet long, iron shank, wooden shaft. It looks simple, but there is something unusual about it. This, the centurion says, is engineering genius. Watch carefully. He walks to a training dummy holding a wooden shield, measures his distance, then throws. The pilum flies through the air, strikes the shield, and penetrates deep into the wood. But then something strange happens. The iron shank bends, folds at a 90-degree angle under the weight. The recruits stare in confusion. A broken weapon? A defect? The centurion smiles. Not broken, designed. He points at the bent pilum still embedded in the shield. Now imagine you were the enemy. My pilum just pierced your shield. What do you do? One recruit answers, Pull it out, sir? Try. The recruit grabs the pilum shaft and pulls. It does not move. The bent iron shank is now hooked into the shield, impossible to extract quickly. Exactly, the centurion says. You cannot pull it out, and you cannot use your shield anymore because a 7-foot spear is now hanging from it, dragging it down, making it useless. So what do? Another recruit. Drop the shield? Correct, drop your shield. Now you are exposed, unprotected, and that is when we kill you. He walks along the line of recruits. But there is more. Notice the bent iron. That pilum is now worthless. The enemy cannot pick it up and throw it back at us. One-time use, disposable. We throw hundreds of these before battle even begins. We cripple enemy formations without losing a single man. This was Roman warfare, not just strength, not just courage, but cold, calculated engineering. Every weapon designed with a specific purpose, every tactic tested and refined over centuries. Marcus holds a pilum in his hands, feels the weight, the balance, the deadly efficiency. This is not a weapon for glory. This is a weapon for winning. But the pilum is only the opening move. The real killing begins after the throw, when the formations crash together, when shield meets shield, when the gladius comes out. The centurion leads them to another section,
Racks of shields, scutum, rectangular, curved, 4 feet tall, made of layered wood and covered with canvas and leather, reinforced with iron edges. "Pick one up," the centurion orders. Marcus lifts a shield. It is heavy, at least 10 kilograms, but it is manageable, much lighter than the wicker training shield he has been using for months. This is not just defense. This is a weapon. Watch. He takes the shield and demonstrates, steps forward aggressively, slamming the shield's iron edge forward like a battering ram. The impact is brutal. Then, while the imaginary enemy is stunned, he thrusts with the gladius from behind the shield. The shield stuns, the sword kills. That is the sequence, always. Shield bash, sword thrust. Shield bash, sword thrust. You become a machine, a walking, killing machine. But there is one more piece of equipment, the final element. And this one, Marcus has been dreading. The centurion brings out a segmented armor piece, lorica segmentata, iron strips connected by leather straps and brass hooks. It looks like the shell of a metal lobster. "Put it on." Marcus struggles with the straps. The armor is complex, multiple pieces that fit together, shoulders, chest, back, all articulated to allow movement. Once on, it is surprisingly comfortable. The weight distributes across his shoulders and hips. He can move, bend, twist. Not like solid plate armor that locks you in place. This moves with him. "This armor," the centurion explains, "absorbs impact. Swords glance off, arrows deflect. It will save your life 100 times. But it requires maintenance. You will oil it every night. Check every strap. A loose buckle means death." Marcus now stands fully equipped. Pilum in one hand, scutum on his left arm, gladius on his right hip, lorica segmentata protecting his torso, iron-nailed sandals on his feet. He is no longer a farmer. He is becoming something else, something efficient, something deadly. But equipment alone does not make a legionary. What comes next will test not his strength, but his spirit, because Rome is about to teach him the most important lesson of all. You are not an individual. You are part of something greater. And that formation, that unit, that legion is worth more than your life.
5 months into training, Marcus has mastered the weapons. His body is strong, his technique is precise. But today, the real test begins. The march. Dawn breaks. The centurion stands before the assembled recruits. Full equipment, 30 kilometers. You have 6 hours. Anyone who falls behind will be beaten. Anyone who drops equipment will start over. Begin. Marcus hoists his pack onto his back. Inside, tent poles, cooking pot, 3 days of grain, extra sandals, tools for digging. On top of that, his armor, shield, 2 pila, gladius, and personal items. Total weight, 35 kilograms. The first hour is manageable. The recruits march in formation, left, right, left, right. The rhythm is steady. Their nailed sandals strike the ground in unison. Tack, tack, tack. But by the second hour, the weight begins to bite. Shoulders burn, backs ache, feet blister inside the heavy Caligé sandals. Marcus grits his teeth, keeps marching, because stopping is not an option. By the third hour, some recruits begin to lag. One drops his shield. The centurion is on him instantly. The vine staff cracks across his shoulders. "Pick it up!" The recruit, trembling, picks up the shield, tries to continue, but he is broken. He collapses after 50 meters. "Leave him," the centurion orders. "He will walk back, alone, and tomorrow he starts again." This was Rome's method. No sympathy, no encouragement, only consequences. You either met the standard or you suffered until you did. By the 4th hour, Marcus's vision blurs. His legs move automatically. He does not think anymore. He cannot think, only march, 1 foot in front of the other. This is what Rome wanted, to push men past the point of thought, past the point of decision, into pure mechanical endurance. Because in battle, when you are exhausted, when you are terrified, when every instinct screams to run, your body must keep fighting. And the only way to train that is to break the body first, then rebuild it stronger. By the 6th hour, they arrive back at camp. More than half the recruits made it. The others are still on the road, struggling, suffering. Marcus collapses, cannot move. His entire body is one massive cramp. But the centurion is not finished. On your feet, equipment inspection. Somehow, Marcus stands. The centurion walks down the line, checking each recruit's gear. He stops at one whose shield has a crack. Damaged equipment, 50 lashes. The recruit is tied to a post. The centurion administers the punishment himself, not with the vine staff this time, with a leather whip. Each strike tears the skin. Marcus watches. This is the lesson. Your equipment is more important than your comfort, more important than your pain, because your equipment keeps you alive, and keeping you alive keeps the legion strong. After the punishment, the recruits are finally allowed to rest, but not for long, because that night they will learn another skill, the skill that made Rome's legions truly unstoppable: construction. As the sun sets, the centurion gathers them again. A legion does not camp, a legion builds. Every night you will construct a fortified camp, walls, ditches, towers, a full fortress, and in the morning you will tear it down and march. The next night you build again. He hands each recruit a digging tool, dolabra, part axe, part pickaxe. Dig. You have 3 hours. The ditch must be 6 feet deep. The wall must be 8 feet high. Begin. The recruits, already exhausted from the march, begin digging. The ground is hard clay. Each strike of the dolabra sends shocks through tired arms. But they dig, because there is no choice, because Rome has taught them that exhaustion is not an excuse, pain is not an excuse, fatigue is not an excuse. The only excuse is death, and even then, Rome expects you to die standing. By midnight, the camp is complete, a full fortress built in darkness by exhausted men. Ditches surround the perimeter. Wooden stakes form walls. Guard towers stand at each corner. Marcus collapses in his tent. He has been awake for 20 hours, has marched 30 kilometers, has dug for 3 hours. Tomorrow it will happen again, and the next day, and the next. This is the crucible, the fire that burns away everything weak, everything soft, everything human. What remains is iron, pure, hard, unbreakable iron. But there is a final test, one final lesson that separates Roman legionaries from every other army in history, and it is not about strength. It is about fear. Specifically, teaching them to fear their commanders more than they fear the enemy.
6 months into training, the recruits are no longer soft. They are lean, hard, disciplined. But one lesson remains, the darkest lesson, the one that will haunt them forever. Decimation. The word means removal of 1/10, but its true meaning is far more brutal. A training cohort has failed a drill. Not Marcus's unit, another one. They broke formation during a simulated battle. Panicked, scattered. In a real fight, this would mean death for everyone. The centurion does not shout, does not rage. His voice is cold, clinical. You broke formation. You abandoned your brothers. In battle, cowardice kills not just you, but everyone around you. Therefore, you will be punished, all of you. The cohort is lined up, 80 men, young, terrified. They know what is coming. Everyone knows because decimation is legendary, whispered about in fear. The centurion brings out a bag. Inside, stones. 8 white stones, 72 black stones. Each of you will draw a stone. Those who draw white will die. The rest of you will kill them. Silence. Absolute silence. Some recruits begin to shake. Others stare straight ahead, faces blank. The bag is passed down the line. One by one they reach in, draw a stone. Most pull out black. Relief floods their faces. But 8 pull out white. Their faces go pale. One begins to cry. The 8 are separated, forced to kneel. Their hands are tied behind their backs. Then comes the worst part. The 72 survivors are handed wooden clubs. Not swords, not quick deaths, clubs. You will beat them to death, the centurion commands. If anyone refuses, he joins them. Marcus watches from a distance. His cohort is not involved, but they are forced to watch, because this is a lesson for everyone. The first blow falls, a sickening crunch. The white stone recruit screams. Then more blows, from his friends, his tent mates, men he trained beside for 6 months. They do not want to do this, but they have no choice, because refusing means death, and survival instinct overrides everything, even friendship, even humanity. It takes 15 minutes. When it is over, 8 bodies lie broken on the ground, and 72 men stand covered in blood, their brother's blood. No one speaks, no one moves. They just stand there, staring at what they have done. The centurion walks among them. This is the price of cowardice. This is the price of failure. You will remember this. When battle comes, when fear grips you, when every instinct tells you to run, you will remember. You will remember that your commander is more terrifying than any enemy, and you will hold the line. Marcus feels sick, but he understands. This is not cruelty for cruelty's sake. This is psychological warfare against the legionaries themselves. Make them fear their own officers more than death, more than pain, more than anything. And it works, because after decimation, desertion rates drop to nearly 0. Cowardice becomes unthinkable. Holding formation becomes instinctive. Rome has learned something profound. An army that fears its commanders will never break, never retreat, never surrender. They will fight to the death because death in battle is preferable to punishment for failure. But there is another side to this system: reward, because Rome also understands that fear alone is not enough. You must give men something to fight for, something to survive for. The centurion gathers Marcus's cohort. They have completed training. 6 months of hell, 6 months of pain, but they survived. You are no longer recruits, he says. You are legionaries. You will now swear the oath. Each man steps forward, places his hand on the legion's eagle standard, and speaks the words. I swear to obey my commanders, to follow orders without question, to never abandon my post, to serve Rome for 25 years, and if I break this oath, may the gods strike me down. Simple words, but absolute, because once you swear, there is no going back. You belong to Rome, body and soul. But the centurion has one more thing to say. You have survived training, but understand this: training is nothing compared to war. In war, there is no vine staff,
No punishment detail, only death, fast or slow, glorious or meaningless. That is the only difference. He looks each man in the eye. But if you survive 25 years, if you live through the wars, the sieges, the winters, the diseases, Rome will give you land, money, citizenship, a future. That is the promise. Serve faithfully, and Rome rewards you. Fail, and Rome destroys you. This was the contract, brutal honesty. Serve or die, succeed or suffer. But always, always, Rome came first. Marcus and his fellow graduates are assigned to the 10th Legion. They will march to the frontier, to Gaul, to Germania, to the edge of the known world. And there they will do what Rome does best: conquer.
2 years later, Gaul, the frontier of the empire. Marcus is no longer a recruit, he is a veteran. He has seen battle, he has killed men, and he has learned the most important lesson of all. Individual heroism is forbidden. The battlefield is chaos. Barbarian tribes scream war cries. They charge forward with wild abandon, each warrior seeking personal glory, each one convinced that the gods favor the brave. But the Roman line stands silent, shields locked, gladii ready, waiting. Marcus stands in the front rank, shoulder to shoulder with men he has trained with for 2 years, so close he can smell their sweat, feel their breathing. They are not individuals anymore. They're one organism, one machine. The barbarians crash into the Roman line like a wave against rock. The impact is tremendous. Shields crack, men grunt, but the line does not break. This is where training proves itself, because Marcus does not think. His body moves automatically. Shield up, absorb the impact, wait for the opening. Stab. Not a wild swing, not a dramatic slash, just a short, brutal thrust between the ribs. The barbarian in front of him falls. Another takes his place. Shield. Wait. Stab. Another falls. This is not battle. This is butchery. Systematic, efficient, mechanical. But the barbarians are strong, numerous. They push. The Roman line bends. Marcus feels the pressure. His legs strain. His shield arm burns. He has been fighting for 20 minutes. In barbarian armies, this is when warriors tire, when they slow, when they die. But not Rome. A whistle sounds. 3 sharp blasts. Marcus knows what this means. He has drilled this movement 1,000 times. The front rank opens their shields, steps backward, and the second rank flows forward, fresh and rested, taking their place. Marcus moves to the rear, breathes, drinks water, rests, while the fresh troops continue the slaughter. This is Roman genius. Not fighting harder, fighting smarter. The enemy faces constant pressure. Every barbarian warrior fights until exhaustion, but every Roman legionary fights for 20 minutes, then rests, then returns. The barbarians have no answer for this. They cannot rotate. They have no discipline, no system. They fight as individuals, and individuals tire. After an hour, the barbarian line collapses. Not because Rome has superior warriors, but because Rome has a superior system. The warriors are just components, replaceable, expendable, but the system is eternal. This is what training created. Not heroes, not champions, but cogs in a machine. And the machine never stops, never tires, never breaks. After the battle, Marcus sits among the bodies, Roman and barbarian alike. His hands are covered in blood. His armor is dented. His gladius is notched. A young recruit, fresh from training, approaches. His first battle. He looks at Marcus with awe.
You killed so many. You're a hero. Marcus looks at him. No pride in his eyes. No satisfaction. Just exhaustion. I am not a hero. I am a legionary. There is a difference. The recruit does not understand, but he will, after a few battles, after seeing friends die, after killing enough men that their faces blur together. He will understand that there are no heroes in the legions, only survivors. That night, the legion makes camp. And as always, they do not simply sleep under the stars. They build. Marcus takes his delabra, begins digging. Even after battle, even after marching, even after killing, the routine never changes. Dig the ditch, raise the wall, post the guards. By midnight, a fortress stands where empty ground was hours before. Walls, gates, towers, as secure as any permanent fort. And tomorrow they will tear it down and march again. This is what separates Rome from everyone else. Other armies fight, then rest. But Rome fights, then builds. Always preparing, always fortifying, always ready. The young recruit watches in disbelief. We just fought a battle. Why are we building? An older legionary answers. Because the enemy might attack tonight. Because we never assume safety. Because this is what legionaries do. We are not just soldiers, we are engineers, builders. The conquerors of the world do not rest, they prepare. And this is true. Rome's legions do not just defeat armies. They build roads, aqueducts, bridges, forts, cities. They do not occupy territory. They transform it, make it Roman, permanent. Marcus lies down in his tent. His body aches. Every muscle screams. But he cannot sleep. Because tonight, like every night, he sees their faces. The men he killed today. Their eyes. Their final breaths. Some legionaries claim they feel nothing, that killing becomes routine. But Marcus knows the truth. It never becomes routine. You just learn to bury it. Push it down, lock it away. Because if you let yourself feel, you will break, and broken men do not survive. Tomorrow the march continues. More battles, more blood, more building. For 23 more years, if he survives.
23 years later, Marcus is 43 years old. His hair is gray. His body is covered in scars. He has fought in Gaul, Germania, Britannia, Hispania, and Dacia. He has survived wounds that killed stronger men, disease that wiped out entire cohorts, winters that froze soldiers in their sleep. He has outlived most of his training cohort. Of the 80 men who graduated with him, only 12 remain. The rest are dead, killed in battle, disease, accidents, execution for desertion. The legions consume men like fuel. But Marcus survived. And now, finally, his contract is complete. 25 years of service, he is being discharged, honorably. The ceremony is simple. The legate stands before the retiring veterans, perhaps 30 men from the entire legion. These are the survivors, the lucky ones, the ones who made it. You have served Rome faithfully, the legate says. You have bled for the empire, killed for the empire, built for the empire, and now Rome honors its promise. Each veteran is given a wooden tablet, a diploma, proof of service, and with it, a land grant, a plot of farmland in one of Rome's newly conquered territories, plus a cash payment, enough to start a new life. Marcus holds the tablet in his weathered hands. He tries to feel relief, joy, freedom. But he feels nothing, because after 25 years, he is not a farmer anymore. He is not even a man. He is a legionary, and that will never change. The ceremony ends. The veterans disperse. Most will travel to their new lands, try to build farms, raise families, pretend they are normal men. But Marcus knows the truth. They will never be normal. They will wake at dawn out of habit. They will sleep with knives under their pillows. They will flinch at sudden sounds, dream of battles, see the faces of dead men. One veteran approaches Marcus, a man named Lucius. They trained together, fought together, survived together. "What will you do?" Lucius asks. Marcus shrugs. "Farm, I suppose. The land is in Pannonia, near the Danube. Good soil, they say." "Will you take a wife?" "Maybe, if she can tolerate an old soldier." Lucius laughs, but it is a bitter laugh. "What woman wants a man who wakes screaming, who cannot sit with his back to a door, who jumps at shadows?" This is the unspoken cost, the price that never appears in recruitment speeches. Rome gives you land, money, citizenship, but it cannot give you back what it took: your youth, your innocence, your peace. Marcus travels to Pannonia. His land is near a small settlement. Other veterans live nearby. They recognize each other instantly, the way they stand, the way they scan their surroundings, the scars. He builds a small house, plants crops, buys a few chickens, tries to live the quiet life he dreamed of during cold nights on campaign. But it does not work. The silence is too loud. The stillness is suffocating. He is used to orders, structure, purpose. Without the legion, he is adrift. One night he hears shouting, a barbarian raid on the settlement. Small, disorganized, perhaps 20 warriors. The other settlers panic, run, hide. But Marcus does not run, cannot run. His body moves automatically. He grabs his old gladius, still sharp, still ready, and he walks toward the raiders. 3 other veterans join him. No words needed. They form a line, shields locked. Even without armor, even without support, the training is eternal. The barbarians see 4 old men. They laugh, charge. 30 seconds later, 6 barbarians are dead. The rest flee. The settlers stare in shock, but the veterans just clean their blades, return to their homes, as if nothing happened. Because for them, it was nothing, just another fight, another day. The Legion never leaves you. It lives in your bones, your blood, your soul. Marcus realizes the truth that night. He is not a farmer. He will never be a farmer. He is a legionary, and he will die a legionary. Some veterans cannot adapt. They drink, gamble, pick fights, destroy themselves slowly because the war ended, but the battle inside them never does. Others find purpose. They train local militias, serve as guards, become centurions for new recruits, because the only life they understand is the military life. Marcus chooses something different. He writes, on wax tablets, then parchment. He writes down what he learned. Not the glory, not the victories, but the truth. He writes, "War is not heroic. It is necessary. Rome needed us. We served. We suffered. We survived. That is all." Years later, his writings will be copied, studied. Future legionaries will read his words, learn from his experience, and the cycle will continue. Because Rome is eternal. Emperors die, generals fall, but the legions endure, built on the broken bodies of men like Marcus, men with no names, just numbers, just purpose. Marius's mules. They carried the world on their backs, and all they got in return was a patch of dirt and memories that never fade.
Marcus dies at age 52. Not in battle, not gloriously. He dies in his sleep. in his small house in Pannonia, alone. His body is found by a neighbor 3 days later. On the table beside his bed, his old gladius. Still sharp, still ready. Even in death, he could not let it go. They bury him without ceremony. No speeches, no honors, just a simple grave marker. His name, his legion, his years of service. That is all. But Marcus is not unique. Across the empire, tens of thousands of veterans die the same way, forgotten, anonymous, their sacrifices absorbed into the vastness of Roman history. Because Rome does not remember individuals. Rome remembers legions, the 3rd, the 10th, the 14th. These names are eternal, but the men who filled those ranks? Nameless, numberless, expendable. And yet, without them, there is no Rome, no empire, no civilization. Every road was built by legionaries, every aqueduct, every bridge, every fort, every city, all constructed by men who started as farmers and ended as builders of the world. The system that created them was brutal, inhuman. It broke men down and rebuilt them as components of a machine. It demanded everything and gave back only survival. It punished failure with death and rewarded success with more service. But it worked. For 500 years, Roman legions were undefeated, not because Roman soldiers were stronger, not because they were braver, but because they were better trained, better disciplined, better organized. While barbarians fought as individuals, Romans fought as units. While enemies tired, Romans rotated. While others camped, Romans built fortresses. While adversaries relied on courage, Rome relied on system. This is the truth that history often forgets. Rome was not conquered by superior warriors. Rome conquered because it had a superior method, a method built on the backs of men like Marcus, men who endured the impossible, who carried crushing weight, who marched until their feet bled, who dug until their hands broke, who killed men they did not hate, who endured pain that would break modern soldiers. They were called Marius Mules, not as mockery, but as recognition, because mules do the work that needs doing, without complaint, without glory, without choice. And for 25 years, that is what they did. They worked, they bled, they died. And in exchange, Rome gave them a plot of land and the knowledge that they had been part of something greater than themselves. Was it worth it? Ask a legionary and you will get different answers. Some will say yes, they survived. They have land, a future. Others will say no. The cost was too high, the nightmares too vivid, the losses too great. But the answer does not matter, because the legions did not ask if it was worth it. They simply did what was required, and that is why Rome endured. The last Roman legion disbanded in the 5th century AD, more than 800 years after Marius's reforms. 8 centuries of continuous military excellence. No other army in history has matched that record. And when the legions ended, so did Rome. Because the legions were Rome. The discipline, the efficiency, the relentless expansion. Take away the legions, and Rome was just another decaying empire. But their legacy remains. Modern militaries still study Roman tactics, still admire Roman discipline, still try to replicate Roman training methods. The structure they created, the system they perfected, echoes through every professional army that came after. So when you think of Rome, do not think of emperors in purple robes. Do not think of senators debating in marble halls. Think of a young farmer named Marcus, who signed away his life at 18, who carried 35 kilograms for 25 years, who dug ditches after battles, who killed men he did not hate, who endured pain that would break modern soldiers. Think of the thousands like him,
the millions across 5 centuries, men whose names are forgotten but whose work remains. The roads they built still carry traffic, the walls they raised still stand. The empire they forged shaped the modern world. They were not heroes. They were not legends. They were Marius's mules, and they carried civilization on their backs. The sound of their iron-nailed sandals has faded. The rhythm that once shook the earth is silent now. But if you listen carefully, in the ruins of Roman forts, in the stones of ancient roads, you can still hear it. Tuck, tuck, tuck. The sound of Rome, marching forever.